If you've been living under a rock, let me catch you up. Quiet Luxury took 2023 by storm. It was all about wearing nice things with no logos, having very crisp, clean lines in ways that you could just tell it was expensive. Trends evolve as they always do, and I'm telling you now, loud budgeting is it in 2024. That's something I'm certainly going to practice in 2024. I made some big purchases last year. I moved apartments, I bought furniture, and I bought myself a pretty expensive birthday gift. But this year I have some very lofty saving goals, so I am into loud budgeting. I've also decided that this is the year I'm going to start contributing to my mega backdoor Roth IRA, so I will be a little bit tight on cash. But I still plan on living a very fulfilling life. I will simply make some adjustments so that I will be able to do so. And with that, here are 5 ways on how I plan to practice loud budgeting in 2024. These are ways in which I will live a little bit more intentionally so that I don't spend money unnecessarily. Rather, I can spend it in other ways that would bring me more joy. My limiting factor when I leave my apartment for the day is that I will generally get either hungry or thirsty, and if I'm not prepared for this, then it would cause me to spend money unnecessarily. So I'll at least leave the house with a bottle of water and usually a snack if I remember. Literally any bag I bring, I always make sure that it's big enough to carry a bottle of water. This is my bottle. I've been using it for 4 years now, and you can tell that it's been filled a number of times. I don't think it even stands up straight anymore. There have been times when I've forgotten to bring my water bottle, and in those cases I'll just buy a bottle of water outside because health comes first. And ultimately it's not that much money, but when I look at it from the standpoint of the amount of money it would cost for a bottle of water is the same amount of a cup of coffee that I know I would actually enjoy, it just makes more sense to make it a habit to bring a bottle of water. And same for a snack. A snack will usually tide me over until I can head home and eat a meal. And my point here isn't really about pinching pennies. It's more that if I don't have to spend my money in a way that doesn't intentionally make me happy, why not just do the prep so that every dollar I spend, I know that it'll fully bring me joy. You know those services that offer you healthy meals that you can just heat up and start eating? Well, I have a secret for you, which is that you can do it for yourself at a fraction of the cost by meal prepping. If you just buy a few things in bulk, cook it all either once a week or twice a week for freshness, you can save a good amount of money every single month. Meal planning for me saves me on average $60 a week, or maybe $240 a month roughly. I would say that's a pretty conservative estimate based off of if I grabbed a cheaper lunch option during the week a few times a week, and that might look like Chipotle or Sweetgreen. That's what I might do if I bought lunch during the week and didn't meal plan and cook in bulk. Even then, I'm not counting dinner because I feel like even that version of me wouldn't really partake in meal delivery services for dinner. So that's why it's more of a conservative estimate. If you're new to meal prepping, consider learning some recipes that are pretty quick and efficient. So for example, when I was in college, I learned how to roast vegetables because that meant I wouldn't have to stand right by the stove and watch food cook. While the vegetables were roasting, for like the 30 or 40 minutes, I could do something else. I still roast a lot of my food, but sometimes it happens that my meal plan schedule doesn't really pan out well. I might need a meal, but I have nothing in the fridge to cook. And so in those instances, I always save some frozen meals as backup, just in case. Usually this is something from the Trader Joe's frozen aisle, and a $4 frozen meal is much cheaper than a $15 takeout meal. I definitely eat out, sometimes either with friends or by myself. And whenever I do, it's always a very intentional experience. I keep eating out a treat because I know that it raises my standard of living if I do it too frequently. And at some point, if or when I want to cut back, I will definitely feel the absence of not eating out, and I'll miss that privilege. Not to mention, when I cook for myself, I can control what goes into my food and I can make it as healthy or sometimes unhealthy as I want it to be. I gotta be honest, I do love to spend some of my weekends window shopping, and sometimes I really fall in love with the random knickknacks I see. Before I learned about the impact of impulse purchases, and before learning about hedonic adaptation, which is basically the idea that we revert back to a baseline level of happiness always, I might have given in to impulse purchases. But now whenever I have fallen in love with an item, my rational side kicks in, and I always do a quick Google search on the item that I'm interested in. I realize that sometimes stores can mark up an item up to 300% for items that we can easily find online. I've seen this time and time again for items that are a little bit more mass manufactured, and it's a trap that I refuse to fall into. So every time I'm interested in an item, I will, 1, add it to my wish list and think on whether I actually want this item or not, and 2, I'll do some research online to find whether that item is the best item in its category or if it's the best price I can find across online and in-store prices. I started cutting back on drinking alcohol last year when I listened to Andrew Huberman's podcast on the effects of alcohol on our bodies. I always knew alcohol was bad for us, but also learning about the scientific evidence behind why was extremely eye-opening for me. I'm more cognizant of that every time I drink now, and it's by far the most effective way to cut back on expenses in terms of lifestyle changes. Not to mention now I'm at a point where I don't really recover from alcohol as easily as I did before. Before I used to be able to run off a hangover. Now I do like to wake up a little bit earlier on weekends with a sharp mind, either for social plans or just to get a head start on my day. Each time I intentionally choose not to drink while I'm out, I save $20 per drink. I do know there are ways in which we can make drinking cheaper by pre-gaming or whatnot, but the point is I don't really gravitate toward it as much because of the reasons I mentioned. I'm not saying I'll never drink. I think there are times when it's really fun to. If I'm out on a weekend, I'll think about whether a drink is worth it to me or not, given what I have planned for the next day. And if it's not worth it, I'll refrain. If it is worth it, then I'll partake. Overall, I'm more cognizant of how much I consume. And I found that even when I'm at an event where drinks are free, I rarely go past 2, simply because I like to wake up fresh the next day. I had a DIY phase a few years back. I used to use apple cider vinegar as my hair conditioner. I used to make my own hand soap with diluted castile soap and essential oils. I used to also make my own all-purpose cleaner. It was kind of a crunchy period of my life. This is something I got back into a little bit more recently, but more in the sense of if I find myself spending money on something quite regularly, I'll see if I can make it or do it myself. For me recently, I have been super into yogurt parfaits, which obviously require granola. I can easily go through a $5 or $7 bag of granola in 3 days. To me, that's not sustainable, so I've started making my own granola, which is super easy and super satisfying to make. Sometimes doing something yourself is easier than you think, and you might already have everything you need to do something yourself. So I'm bringing in loud budgeting in 2024 by always bringing a water bottle and or a snack when I leave my house. I'll meal prep so that I'm not unnecessarily spending money on takeout. I'll limit my impulse purchases. I'm drinking less alcohol and I'm DIYing things when it makes sense too. Let me know in the comments what you're doing when it comes to loud budgeting, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Before you go, you should definitely check out this video here on how to save money with an abundance mindset.